Your aquatic pets deserve only the best care, and that's exactly what Fly and Vet provides. As Idaho's only mobile aquatics veterinarian, Fly and Vet brings their expertise directly to fish owners across the Treasure Valley. From home aquariums to koi ponds and commercial aquaculture, Fly and Vet can provide on-site diagnosis, treatment, and professional water quality testing. Don't wait to give your aquatic pets the care they deserve. Call 208-260-0327 to schedule an appointment today. You can also check them out on Facebook or visit flyandvet.com. Fly and Vet, bringing professional aquatic services directly to your doorstep. Today on CityCast Boise. The Big Beautiful Bill will be stripping local refugees of vital benefits, leaving big questions about who will fill the gap. Meanwhile, Meridian leaders shut down plans for a second In-N-Out. And we're feeling inspired by the community we connected with at Pride and our very first Neighbors event. It's Friday, September 12th. I'm Lindsay Van Allen, and this is what Boise's talking about. It's Friday once again, everyone, and joining me this week to break down the biggest headlines, the biggest local stories, is our Hey Boise newsletter editor, Blake Hunter. Thanks so much for being here today, Blake.
Hi, Lindsay. Thanks for having me.
Before we dive into the local headlines, I do want to acknowledge the shooting of Charlie Kirk. And even though it's not a hyper-local story, it did happen in Utah, which is our sister state, and it has had local repercussions already this week. There was a vigil at the Capitol put on by the Idaho Freedom Foundation in which there was a man who was beat up for stating his opinion about Charlie Kirk. There was also a Meridian coach, a cheerleading coach, who made a video about the Charlie Kirk shooting and was fired from the school district. So I recognize that this is already having local implications and wanted to acknowledge that this is the topic that people are currently talking about. And people have a lot of worries and concerns and feelings about what happened in our community.
Yeah, I mean, Kirk was a very, and I think in a lot of spaces in Idaho, a very popular figure. And the Idaho Freedom Foundation, who we haven't really mentioned on the podcast for quite a while, put together that vigil on Wednesday night, and a couple hundred people showed up to mourn. And so, yeah, he was a very divisive figure, but we also do want to acknowledge that right off the top.
Okay, we're going to shift gears slightly now and talk about a headline I saw earlier this week about how Idaho refugees are going to lose their SNAP benefits. Not just their SNAP benefits, but other things like the Children's Health Insurance Program because of the Big Beautiful Bill. What are your thoughts on how this is going to impact our refugee community in Boise?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really difficult and super, super complicated situation. Anyone who has any experience with the refugee system or the asylum system knows that it's just so complicated. But this is a really big issue that a lot of refugee officials and asylum supporters have been talking about for quite a while, especially since the second term of President Trump started. And there have been so many different delays in different refugee and asylum processes. And now this one, included in the Big Beautiful Bill, as you mentioned, is that anyone who has not received their green card yet, which can take up to and over a decade, by the way, will be stripped of SNAP benefits. So that's Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or essentially food stamps. And that can be really, really difficult. So these are people who are coming into the United States trying to find their first jobs. You mentioned health insurance. Typically, a first job that you find in the United States is not going to include health insurance. And these people just oftentimes really rely on SNAP benefits in order to just feed their families. So this is just going to implement a new barrier to essentially refugees kind of adjusting to life in the United States. We know that Boise and Idaho just more generally has a pretty big refugee population. About 550 individuals have resettled in Idaho in the past year, mostly from Afghanistan and Ukraine. And yeah, this is just a high barrier community that they're trying to get incorporated into daily life in Boise and Idaho. And this is just one less tool that they have to eke out a survival in that first year. That transitional period for the first 6 months to a year of settling in Idaho is really, really hard. And Idaho has a long history of actually settling refugees here. But this is a lot of refugee officials are really, really worried about this situation. And as you mentioned, there's further programs that are going to be cut down the line starting next year.
Absolutely. Yeah. As of October 2026, they won't be able to enroll in Medicaid. They won't be able to enroll in the Children's Health Insurance Program or CHIP program. And then the following year, they're going to lose access to healthcare through the Affordable Care Act and Medicare. And so I guess I look at this population when we talk about these refugees, where they're coming from. We get refugees from Afghanistan, Democratic Republic of Congo, Ukraine. And when we talk about the people who need safety nets, I can think of no population who needs it more than refugees and refugee children. And when we take these programs away, it's not like they're going to suddenly not need food. Like if we take away SNAP benefits, they won't be like, oh, that's fine, we'll just not eat. Or we aren't going to need access to health care. But we're stripping away all of these programs that people desperately need, especially when you're starting over in a brand new country. Like when we talk about refugees, we've had interviews on this show with refugees. A lot of times they are coming from camps where they've been displaced, where there's been war. They're coming from a situation where they have basically the clothes on their back and a few government documents, and that's it. And we've always been a place that has been so welcoming to refugees. I worry about how welcome they'll feel if they get here and we're like, I'm so sorry, you don't get health insurance, you don't get food. That doesn't feel welcoming to me.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that it's not. And I'm really curious to see how the community reacts to this news. I think that there's a really big gap that could be filled here by food pantries, more community food pantries. But honestly, that's someone saying, I'm saying that as someone like completely outside of the system. Like I'm not really familiar. And so I don't necessarily know the exact needs. But I'm wondering if there's a more direct action approach that the community could take here. But I think that there's obviously going to be people who slip through the cracks, and that is just extremely dangerous when people are just first coming here and trying to get their feet under them and their families, as you mentioned. And so this food assistance, is really, really crucial, and it's going to be another barrier in a long list of delays and barriers and issues that have been brought up in this process in just the last 9 or 10 months.
And I do have to say, I'm very disappointed. That's probably the most generous term I
Yeah.
can say. Very disappointed with Senator Crapo's response to this, where he
Yeah.
said, quote, he expressed openness to revisiting the provisions for those who are following the law, but which refugees are, that's a legal process. But any changes would need to incorporate the views of his colleagues and the White House, end quote. What about the views of Idahoans? What about the views of the people who live here that he represents?
Yeah. Yeah. He also told reporters that the refugee section of like this massive, massive law was a quote unquote political negotiation. So this really sounds like it was just something that was, it was a bargaining chip. And he said, I wish I could answer it any differently than that, but that is the situation. And, we talked to a refugee official a few months ago here on the show, and I talked to her in the Hey Boise newsletter as well. And we talked about the difficulty that happens when it's like a 1 month delay or a 1 month pause on any sort of paperwork, anything typically means years down the line of just issues and wrinkles in the entire system. And it's messing up people's lives for years down the line.
Like I said earlier, from having worked in the ER, these people will not need healthcare. They're just going to come to the ER and then strain those resources. If you already don't like ER wait times, they're going to go up for everyone, and they will not be getting the timely care that they need. And Blake, when you mentioned, like food pantries, those resources are already strained. It will just add to that further. When we're a community and we take away the safety nets that community members need, it just puts that burden on the entire rest of the community. And I'm frustrated that our refugees are being used as a bargaining chip in Washington. Summit Innovation Lab invites your child to be part of their first LEGO League team, where fun and learning collide. Through hands-on projects, kids will build and code LEGO robots and then take on exciting competitions that encourage creativity and real-world problem solving. Through these challenges, Summit Innovation Lab will help your child strengthen collaboration and critical thinking skills while also learning to code in a fun way. Guided by knowledgeable coaches and surrounded by a supportive community, kids will discover what it means to be innovative leaders, problem solvers, and a team player, all while having a blast. Head to summitinnovationlab.com to sign up for the league today. I'm excited to share that I've partnered with Huel, Huel, because their Black Edition powder has become my favorite lunchtime solution. If you're like me, lunch can feel like the hardest meal to get to during a busy day. So instead of grabbing fast food or reaching for a snack, I can mix up a quick shake and know I'm getting something that actually sustains me. Each serving of Huel Black Edition is a complete meal with 40 grams of plant-based protein and 27 vitamins and minerals. It's gluten-free, has no added sugar, and for less than $3 a meal, it's convenient and budget-friendly. I've been enjoying the vanilla flavor. It's tasty, satisfying, and keeps me full for hours. And if you're looking for an easy way to get your daily greens, Huel just released their Daily Greens Ready to Drink. No powders, no mixing, just a sparkling super greens drink that's refreshing and ready to go. Try Huel with 15% off for new customers today using my code Boise at huel.com/Boise. That's huel.com/Boise. Fuel your best performance with Huel today. Okay, Blake, let's pivot again to something that I actually think is good news. This might be controversial, but I'll just say it. I'll stand 10 toes down on it. I think this is good news, and I am so happy to hear it. And that is that In-N-Out, it looks like, will not be coming to 10 Mile Road in Meridian. The Meridian City Council has denied their request for a conditional use permit for a drive-through that was going to be on 10 Mile near Costco. Thank you, Meridian City Council. This is good news, and I'm happy to see it.
You know, with how this show's gone today, we'll take any good news if you say it's good news, Lindsay. I think you're probably right. I mean, this is quite a ways out of my neck of the woods, so I probably wouldn't be going there very much. But it's, 10 Mile and Chinden. It's right next to the massive Bainbridge subdivision. And yeah, this was supposed to be like a 31 car drive-through, I believe, and then an additional 19 car backup option. And I mean, if we all remember how the first In-N-Out opening went, it was definitely more than 31 cars, and it was honestly more than 50 at many points. And so, yeah, the Planning and Zoning Commission in Meridian actually months ago, like back in April, rejected this conditional use permit, and In-N-Out just appealed it and asked the Meridian City Council to take it up, and the City Council backed up their Planning and Zoning Commission. And so I think that it's, I don't know, tell me why, as a Meridianite, why you think that this is such good news.
Okay, first of all, because I hate In-N-Out. So just
okay.
right off the
so
bat.
let's take that off the plate. Yep.
Yeah, we don't need another mediocre hamburger spot if I get to have a choice of what restaurants we have.
Totally.
But first of all, I think their estimate on vehicles in there is ridiculous. Like, in anticipation of this, I drove past the In-N-Out over on Eagle Road at about 10 o'clock at night, and there were more than 40 cars there. And so this estimate that it would only be like on average 27 cars at a time, unlikely. Like you said, it's a heavily residential area. There's more than 500 houses in a neighborhood that would be less than 40 feet away from where this In-N-Out would be. So it would be one of the closest restaurants and one of the closest In-N-Outs to a residential neighborhood in the entire country. And anybody who drives on 10 Mile, it's already a nightmare. It's already, like, I was honestly surprised that the Meridian City Council said that traffic was a concern, because I was unaware that they were able to see that on 10 Mile, since they've just been approving everything that wants to go on 10 Mile. Any kind of growth or development, no matter how it will impact traffic, has just been rubber stamped. Go, go, go. But suddenly they were like, well, this might cause a huge traffic issue. Yes, it will. We've already got traffic issues on 10 Mile. This would have made it so ridiculous. That parking lot, that Costco parking lot, not fun. There's already like 6 or 7 restaurants there. It's already a Costco. And so adding an In-N-Out, disaster, absolutely disastrous. They also estimated there would be 2,400 daily vehicle trips there. Now, there's already so much traffic in that area. And I think the residents of that Bainbridge neighborhood were accurate. And this could be really dangerous for kids. There's bus stops near there, there's kids walking. And if we're
True.
suddenly adding 2,400 vehicles a day to an already very hectic and potentially dangerous area, I just think that's a terrible idea. Nothing about this. I have been complaining about this almost on the daily. Like every time I go to Costco there, I'm like, oh, this is going to be unusable in a few months. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, thank you. Okay. Finally, some sanity from the city council. So that's my short rant on why I'm so glad we are not getting this In-N-Out.
I just had to prompt you for like 5 seconds to get you going on that. I'm so excited. I'm so glad. Because you sent like an eye roll emoji about this yesterday, and I was like, I'm going to ask about this. And yeah, it makes sense. I think one other thing is actually there were some, of course, there's always going to be some people who do want it. There were some people who lived in that subdivision who did want this. But it's somebody actually asked, like, it was someone who represented like that area's homeowners association asked, like, is this an experiment? Is In-N-Out kind of testing out what it's going to be like being closer to a residential area? And where I think it sounds like it's a good thing. As someone who lives in Boise and doesn't travel out to this area very much, I'm going to second your vote, Lindsay. Not that it counts much, but that this is probably a good thing that this isn't going to be where In-N-Out's big residential experiment takes place.
I cannot tell you. I am so happy. When I saw this, I like texted my husband. I was like, good news. Costco is not going to become an unusable space. Like,
Yeah.
Thank you, Meridian City Council, for finally worrying about traffic on 10 Mile Road. I hope that trend continues. So I just wanted us to end on a happy note. I'm sure somebody will
Thank
write in and
goodness.
let me know they really wanted an In-N-Out. If so, there's a location near Boise Town Square Mall and on Eagle Road. I invite you to eat the mediocre In-N-Out burgers there. Okay, for any new listeners, this is the part of the show where we do our picks of the week, which are either our favorite news stories, something happening this weekend that we're really excited about. But this week, I kind of wanted to do something a little different. I wanted to take a second and reflect back on Pride, actually, which was last week, but it was CityCast Boise's first Pride, having a booth, being a sponsor, being in the parade. And we had our very first CityCast Boise Neighbors members event. I thought it was a huge success, and it was so incredible to meet some of our neighbors. Y'all are really amazing people.
No, for real. I had a blast personally. I talk about this like pretty frequently just to like friends and stuff, but you know, to be candid, as part of this job, it feels like I'm just like shouting into the void a lot of the time. I'm writing this newsletter that just ships out to people, and I get a lot of lovely messages and also a lot of really mean messages. And so I think actually just meeting people in real life is just like such a cathartic thing. And doing it around Pride was just such an awesome experience. We had the sweetest crew of people walk with us in the parade. Like, we just genuinely had a blast. Also really liked the new route and also the new location of Pride, but that's kind of beside the point of what we're talking about here. And also just, we had so many people coming up to the booth and saying hi, taking pictures with us. One person, Lindsay and I almost started crying. It was like Sunday around like 3 p.m. and we were drained. We were getting a little low on energy. This is like day 2. And someone came up to Lindsay and just like started crying and was just saying like, you make me proud to live in Idaho. And that was just a beautiful, beautiful moment that has really stuck with me. And after this person left, like Lindsay and I just like looked at each other. We're both like fighting back tears, and we're like, you know what, everything's okay. Like this is like worth it, you know? And so I think that there were just multiple of moments like that where it was just a beautiful time. Like I really, really enjoyed it. And it was so great to meet some new listeners and readers and hear lovely things about the work that we're doing. So we really appreciate it if you said hi, and thank you for being part of our amazing first Neighbors event.
Like Blake said, it was so incredible to meet all of you. doing a podcast is funny work where I will record and prep and, you edit and send it out, and you're kind of disconnected from then how people receive it. So I don't know if people like it, what people think. I do kind of feel separate from the end product. And just to meet so many people who had listened to the podcast or had a favorite episode or had said things like, oh, I share this with my sister and we have a list of restaurants we want to try or places that we want to go visit, or this episode really made me laugh. That was really funny. Or, I checked the newsletter for the guide. Like, all of my friends have gone to events. They maybe don't know it's from Hey Boise or CityCast Boise, but I always suggest things from the newsletter. And that just meant so much. And it was so fun to meet so many new community members who weren't aware of the podcast, but were interested in what we're doing and the community we're building. And like you said, that one person, I can't think about it too long or I do get really choked up.
I know, me too.
That was maybe one of the most meaningful compliments I could ever get from someone. And so it just, sometimes day in and day out, it feels a little bit like work, but then to see the community respond in such an incredible, loving way at Pride was really magical. And our members only event was so fun. We have the coolest neighbors. I just have to say, I'm sorry. Our members are the best. Every single person I met was so cool. Just like the best, truly. Like, if y'all were my literal neighbors next to my house, we'd be having a barbecue every night. Like, it was so fun to talk to you. I wish the event had been longer so I could talk to you for longer. And I would just like to invite everyone else who's listening to please become a CityCast Boise neighbor, because we're having a blast over here. And we're going to have more members-only events. And I'd like to meet more of you, invite you to hang out with our really cool members who are very fun. Some of them walked with us in the Pride Parade. And it's $10 a month, but you get ad-free listening. You get to come to these members-only events. You can join at membership.citycast.fm. I've already enjoyed so much getting to meet these neighbors that were at our event. I would love to get to meet you too. Before we go, CityCast Boise neighbor Jillian C. has a shout out for Boise Take Steps, which is happening October 4th at Veterans Memorial Park. This event is a fundraiser walk for the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. Thank you so much for sharing, Jillian. When you become a CityCast Boise neighbor, you also get the chance to shout out your favorite business or nonprofit. Go to membership.citycast.fm. That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. The show is produced by Evelyn Avitia, Frankie Barnhill, Natalie Rivera, Lizzie Goldsmith, Noah Snyderman, and me, Lindsay Van Allen. Blake Hunter writes our Hey Boise newsletter, and our music is by Up Is the Down Is The and All the Kimonos. If you enjoyed our show today, leave us a review. It helps other people find us. We'll be back on Monday with a look at how rising autumn temperatures are affecting our city. You won't want to miss it.